There's something most men never realize until it's too late. When a woman starts cheating or even thinking about it, she doesn't just act different, she tests different. These aren't the cute, flirty, do you miss me kind of tests. These are subtle, psychological checkpoints that help her ease her guilt and measure how much she can get away with. And here's the catch. She'll never admit she's running these tests. She might say she's just seeing how you'd react, or trying to understand where the relationship stands. But underneath that, she's covering her tracks. So today, I'm going to walk you through how women test men when they're cheating. And once you learn to recognize these behaviors, you'll never fall for emotional manipulation again. Because every test has one goal: to protect her secret or project her guilt. I'm Coach Jane, and if you've ever felt like your woman suddenly became harder to read, colder, yet oddly curious about how you react, stay with me. Because this, right here, could explain everything you've been feeling. Let's start with the psychology behind it. When a woman begins to emotionally or physically stray, her inner world becomes chaotic. There's guilt, fear, and a strange sense of curiosity. Can I keep my world intact while living this double truth? Testing you becomes her way of controlling that chaos. She's not testing you to learn about you anymore. She's testing you to protect herself. To see if you've noticed. To see if she can still manipulate the emotional energy in the relationship. And here's the paradox. The more she's hiding, the more she'll act like she's checking your loyalty. It's projection in its purest form. She accuses you of being distant, while she's the one withdrawing. She questions your commitment, while she's emotionally connected elsewhere. So when she starts creating unnecessary emotional experiments, pay attention. That's usually the beginning of a cheating woman's behavioral test cycle. Let's break it down. Behavior number 1. The patience test. This is the first test most men fail because it's designed to provoke. She'll start acting slightly colder. Takes longer to reply. Pulls back affection. Not entirely, just enough for you to notice. Then she watches. Will you chase her? Will you question her tone? Will you get frustrated or insecure? Every reaction you give her becomes emotional data. If you lose patience, she tells herself, "See? He's so reactive. That's why I pulled away." It's her way of rewriting the story, turning your reaction into her justification. But if you stay calm, grounded, and unbothered, it shakes her confidence in the game. Because women testing from guilt expect chaos, not composure. They expect you to crumble, not observe. I once coached a man who said, "Jane, she kept doing small things to get a rise out of me, ignoring texts, flirting with others online. When I finally ignored it, she came back acting sweet again." That's the test cycle in action. When a cheating woman doesn't get the reaction she expects, she loses emotional leverage. And that loss of power often forces her to reveal more than she intends. So the next time she starts manufacturing frustration, recognize it for what it is, not a sign of disinterest, but a sign of hidden guilt. A calm man becomes a mirror, and mirrors make liars nervous. Keep watching for part 2, because next we'll dive into the trickiest one of all. It's the moment she flips the script and tries to see how much you'd fight for her, even while she's breaking your trust. And trust me, it's not a game you win by chasing. It's a game you win by seeing through the test. Behavior number 2, the jealousy test. This is the test that reveals everything about her mental state, the jealousy test. It's not about finding out if you still love her. It's about her trying to shift the spotlight off her own guilt. You'll notice it in small, staged ways. She suddenly brings up another man, maybe a coworker, a gym buddy, or just a friend who really listens. She'll mention him casually, but the tone is calculated. She's watching your reaction like a lie detector. Will you get jealous? Will you act possessive? Or will you stay calm? Too calm for her comfort? See, when a woman is cheating or emotionally involved elsewhere, jealousy becomes her tool of deflection. It's how she rebalances her guilt. She wants you to look like the insecure one, so she can justify her own betrayal as emotional escape. In her mind, it sounds something like this. He's always so controlling. I needed someone who makes me feel free. But that narrative only works if you take the bait. So she plants seeds, Little scenarios meant to make you question your place. She might mention how someone complimented her dress, or how nice it feels to finally be seen. And if you react, she'll twist it into emotional ammunition. The truth? She's not looking for reassurance. She's measuring how much power she still holds. Because when a woman's loyalty starts fading, her curiosity shifts from love to control. And the jealousy test tells her whether she still owns the emotional upper hand. How a wise man passes this test. The secret isn't in confrontation, it's in calibration. When she tries to spark jealousy, mirror her energy, not her emotion. Smile gently. Stay polite, but keep your center. When she sees that she can't destabilize you, something happens. She becomes visibly uncomfortable. Because guilt thrives on reaction. When you give her peace instead of panic, her cover starts to slip. One of my clients, a quiet guy named Marcus, told me, "Jane, she started mentioning her coworker a lot. I decided to never react, just listen and nod. After 2 weeks, she stopped bringing him up. It was like she realized the game wasn't working." Exactly. The moment she notices you're emotionally grounded, not possessive, not jealous, just observant, she loses interest in running tests. Because the only thing that fuels manipulation is your reaction. That's why I often tell men, if she's testing your jealousy more than she's investing in your peace, she's already emotionally out of the relationship. Behavior number 3, the loyalty trigger. Now, this next test is subtle. It's the loyalty trigger. And it's the one she uses when she's emotionally torn between two worlds. She'll ask questions like, would you ever forgive someone who messed up? Do you believe people can change? If someone made a mistake, would you still love them? To the untrained ear, it sounds like reflection or vulnerability. But in reality, she's taking the emotional temperature, trying to predict how bad the fallout would be if you ever found out. She's not asking for emotional comfort. She's calculating risk. It's her way of saying, if I confess, how much power will I lose? If you're too forgiving, she'll see it as weakness. If you're too cold, she'll label you unloving. So, what's the right balance? Boundaries, calm, kind, and clear. You pass this test by showing emotional strength without cruelty. Say things like, I believe people can change, but honesty always comes first for me. That statement alone does 2 things. It shows her fair. It warns her that deception has a price. And that's exactly what a woman who's cheating doesn't want to hear. Stay tuned for part 3, where I'll break down the final signs that confirm when these tests are not just emotional games, but cover-ups. We'll talk about how to read her sudden empathy swings, her new emotional distance, and how to protect your own peace when love starts feeling like an experiment. Because when you understand her tests, you stop being her subject and start being her mirror. When the tests turn into clues. Here's what most men miss. These tests don't stay tests forever. At some point, they become patterns. And patterns tell you everything. Once a woman starts testing you from a place of guilt, her emotional rhythm changes. She becomes unpredictable, warm one day, cold the next. Curious, then distant. Soft in tone, but sharp in behavior. It's confusing because she still does things that make you think she cares. She'll ask how you slept, bring your favorite snack, even act affectionate out of nowhere. But that warmth isn't connection, it's compensation. She's overcorrecting for the guilt she feels. And when she senses you're not reacting, she either intensifies the tests or goes quiet altogether. That silence? It's her reevaluating how much longer she can play both sides. This is when men need to stop trying to decode every move and start paying attention to emotional patterns. Because a cheating woman doesn't always confess with words, she confesses through shifts in emotional consistency. If her attention feels rehearsed, her empathy feels strategic, or her affection arrives only after conflict, you're no longer being loved, you're being managed. Behavior number 4, emotional reversals. Another strong indicator is what I call emotional reversals. This is when she suddenly becomes the one acting suspicious toward you. She accuses you of being distant, asks if you're hiding something, or makes subtle jabs about how secretive you've been lately. What's happening here is psychological projection. She's mirroring her own behavior onto you to relieve guilt. If she can make you the villain, she feels safer being the liar. It's wild, but I've seen it countless times in my sessions. A woman's guilt can make her turn defensive, emotional, or even hypercritical. Not because you changed, but because she did. And that's why, if you ever find yourself constantly defending your loyalty in a relationship where you haven't changed your behavior, pause. That's a sign of projection testing. It's not about finding truth, it's about hiding it. The calm man advantage. Now, let's talk about power, emotional power. When a woman is cheating, she's subconsciously looking for chaos. She expects anger, confrontation, tears, because those emotions make her feel justified. It lets her rewrite the story in her head. He was too intense, too controlling, too reactive. But when you don't play into that script, when you stay composed, observant, even quietly curious, it unsettles her. Because calmness removes her emotional leverage. Here's how powerful calm really is. It turns her guilt into discomfort. And discomfort always reveals truth. You don't need to shout. You don't need to beg. You just need to see clearly and respond quietly. When she realizes her tests no longer get a reaction, she'll either stop playing games or expose her real hand. Either way, you win through clarity, not confrontation. That's what I teach every man who's been betrayed. Emotional control isn't weakness, it's your protection. Behavior number 5, sudden guilt-driven intimacy. This one's tricky, and it confuses a lot of men. When a woman starts cheating, sometimes her intimacy increases. Yes, you read that right. She'll initiate more, act more affectionate, even surprise you with attention you've missed for months. But here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not passion, it's guilt trying to erase itself. She's subconsciously blending memories, trying to make her infidelity feel less real by covering it with moments of connection with you. It's emotional laundering. So, when you suddenly experience a wave of affection after weeks of distance, don't let your ego blind you. Watch the pattern, not the moment. True intimacy feels consistent. Guilt intimacy feels performative. How to respond like a man who sees through it. When you recognize these tests, don't play the game. Don't argue. Don't prove. Don't chase. Instead, anchor yourself in truth. If she's testing me more than she's loving me, she's already breaking the bond. That mindset keeps you grounded. Because what she's really testing isn't your loyalty, it's her ability to keep secrets. The calm, self-aware man never fails these tests. He simply outgrows them. He doesn't match her energy. He magnifies her reflection. And when you reflect her truth long enough, she has no choice but to confront it. So, remember this. If you ever feel like you're constantly being tested instead of trusted, that's not love anymore. That's someone playing defense in a game you didn't even start. And the most powerful thing you can do isn't revenge or exposure, it's distance. Because a woman testing from guilt doesn't fear punishment. She fears peace. She fears your silence. She fears you finally seeing her patterns for what they are. And once you see them clearly, you stop being tested and start being free.